What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the another edition of Black Coffee and Conversation. My name is CT Minima, along with
Rico Moore.
Yes, sir. We're here on the east side of Charleston, West Virginia, and we're just gonna chop it up today. What's on your mind, sir?
I don't know. We're here at Starling's.
Yes, sir.
Coffee and provisions.
Yes, sir. Drinking a nice cup of Joe. So what's on your mind today, Rico?
I mean, I'm just wondering what type of world, what's this world coming to when you listen to George Bush make a speech and it actually makes a lot of sense. I mean, he's actually trying to talk down a president who makes absolutely no damn sense.
I mean, coming from a guy who was his whole presidency was full, himself. He wasn't make too much sense, well, intentionally or unintentionally. But I don't know. I mean, that's what the people wanted, though, isn't it?
I don't know if they want it, but it speaks to me to the depths that we've kind of sunk when he's like, hold on, this makes no damn sense. What's going on? And then you look at his presidency and what it did, especially in regards to us. Mm-hmm. And he's telling this guy, hey, look, man, you're inflaming you're going even further to throw gasoline on the flames of bigotry and so on and so forth. From a guy whose name in and of itself is synonymous with, incarcerating mass amounts of black people in the name of so-called the drug war.
Yeah.
And he's saying that, look, man, you're going too far. I mean, that says a lot to me.
What that tells me is Trump is off code. He's a little too overt with it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And so they like, all right, tell it back now. We can't, have you going too hard on the blacks or the Mexicans or the Muslims or, anybody else. And so that's where I'm coming from with that. It's not like George Bush has found found his religion all of a sudden. It's like, all right, y'all guys, you need to tell it back.
Y'all be good.
Take it easy.
A little bit because you're making it too hot for all of us. That's the way I feel about it.
Well, I think I told you last week, it's not that they're, anti, against anybody or the government being racist. What it is they like to tailor it more towards being done in a process.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
exactly. Let's do it this way and make it look legit, and let's pass these laws, and then let's, make sure we implement them in a certain way. Mm-hmm. So it looks quote unquote legit. When to me, it's never legit, to mistreat somebody.
Yeah. I mean, but if they, make it law, then it's supposedly supposed to be okay. In the eyes of the people.
I think we have a moral responsibility to resist any law that is unjust.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't make that up as a paraphrase of, of what Martin Luther King had to say.
But are we doing that? That's the question.
Well, I think that at least around here, most of these people, the apathy is, hell, I mean, it's beyond measurable. My biggest thing, of course, is we don't participate in the electoral process. We don't participate in government. And I know you hear people say, well, if we had more jobs, we have more money, yada, yada, yada. Okay, that's great. But to me, that's like giving kids toys who don't have enough sense to know what to do with them. So, and that means you can always take those toys from them. So if you don't put yourself in a position to control the toys, then it's a waste of time. You can give somebody some money, but I still get to tell you what to do with it. I can take it from you. It's a waste of time. You have to put yourself in positions where, some decisions, you're making decisions, You're making some real decisions, not just about how much money somebody gets or whatever, but you have to get them to the point where you can deprogram them, you know, and they have a.
That's interesting. Point of view. I never thought deprogram them.
Oh,
in the sense of thinking that voting is there's some type of benefit to voting. And what do you mean by deprogramming?
In a sense of thinking that, especially, I can only speak to what I know as far, especially most of the way I see it, most of the black people are deprogrammed. What I mean by deprogrammed is they seem to think that their vote doesn't matter. They seem to think that money was going to make everything better, and it's not. They seem to think that a lot of them that they have nothing to add to society or have added nothing to society, because when you look at our school systems do not teach history. They teach his story. You know, they teach what they want you to believe happened. They don't teach you what really happened. They don't mention anything about, you know, the real amount of, you know, how can I put this? The things that we really brought to the table, the amount of work we put in to help build the country. So what that does to these kids is they don't have a point of reference to say, somebody that looks like me did this, so I can do this.
So, but
they think that they have to ask other people for stuff.
So should we put that responsibility on, you know, the public school system, you know, teach our kids our history, or should that be taught at home? Because I'm under the opinion, you know, your first teacher obviously is the mother, obviously, when you're first born.
Well, it could be the father.
Well, it could be, but the initial, you know, unless she runs out on you, I guess, but initial teacher is going to be the mother and the father, okay, but...
Let's say the family.
Or the family.
Should be.
Initially, should be the family. Now, we know a lot of people, you know, especially within our community, you know, don't value education. Or maybe it's not to say they don't value it, you know, it's not a priority. Not in all, but in a certain faction. And so when you say history, you know, I take myself for example. I've come, you know, to kind of love history more that I've gotten older, because I hated history in elementary school, and I definitely in junior high, and definitely hated it in high school, because they would never give a story of, like you said, our contributions. Always the Revolutionary War, or, you know, something happened back in ancient Europe, or okay, what about Africa? Or what about the black people now? And they talk about, you know, you have Black History Month, and all they want to talk about is slavery. Like, yeah, we understand slavery, but nowadays they don't even want to talk about that.
They don't even talk about slavery. Only not. They talk about Martin Luther King.
Shoot, they showed us roots in one of my history classes.
Yeah, but I mean, okay, so they showed you roots, but I mean is they program, like, you can call it, like, education to me doesn't really have to take place in school, no. But if you're gonna call it public education, right? So if it's public, that means it's for everybody, right? So
no, I don't agree with that. I say it's public education is the government's narrative for what they want you to know.
Right, that's my point. I'm saying, but if you're gonna call it public education, it's supposed to be for everybody, right?
Yeah,
it's supposed to be. I'm not saying it is.
I would say it's supposed to be for the majority.
Okay.
That's the way I see it. Because that's the way it is now.
Well, that's the way it is. But I mean, when on paper, when you say public, you say, oh, it's public. It's open to the public, everyone, right? So then, why don't you at least teach something about everybody's background? You don't teach history, but they don't. They pump in what they want you to learn, and if you start early enough believing that, you know, well, then you look at TV and the rest of this bullshit, and all you see is black people going to jail, black people selling drugs, black people stealing. Then that is what they believe, that they've come to believe that that's what they're supposed to do, and that's what they're capable of. So, you know, that's my issue with the school system. You know, it's not a true education. But people say, well, they don't have enough time to teach everything. I'm not telling you to teach everything, but I'm just saying, if you're going to touch on some things, make sure that the things you touch on are not all from one perspective.
But, you know, so here's a question, should the public education then be the supplemental education? You know?
Supplemental to what you get at home?
Yes.
I mean, I think they have to go hand in hand.
Mind you, you know, you can go to use your public education for things like science, math, stuff like that. But when it comes to history, should we be relying on public? Because I don't, you know, you can't really lie about math. I mean, in a sense, 2 + 2 is 4. It's not 5.
Shit, but that's a good example. But when they're teaching these kids, and they're not just teaching them in history, but they're teaching them throughout the way the school system, the way that they're taught. They're teaching them 2 + 2 is 28. What I mean by that is they're teaching these kids that what you do usually is going to add up to something wrong.
Okay.
You see what I'm saying? The way they teach them. Look at the school system and look at the percentage of African American kids that get suspended.
Oh, it's crazy. It starts at preschool. I mean,
look at the percentage that they put in special ed.
Yeah.
Look at the percentages that they diagnose as ADD. So,
which is basically
when you say now you back to the numbers again, you say math don't lie.
Yeah, it don't
speaks
lie
for
because,
itself.
you know, the math don't lie because, you know, once they put you in special ed, that's kind of what they call the school to prison pipeline. You know, I don't know who coined that term, but yeah, the school to prison pipeline. You know, and they already got it mapped out. You know how many, you know, the prison population, you know, this many years down the road based on, you know, the students they got now, either in special ed, like you said, ADHD or whatever type of medication they got them on. So they already projecting where they're gonna fill these jails with to then make money off us.
Right.
And so, I mean, when it comes to education, to solely rely on a public school education, I think is, you know, is a detriment to us. And we as we see right now, mind you, this has come from somebody. I went to a private school up through, you know, all through elementary, up through 6th grade. You know, so I got a kind of different point of views. And now that was private school is a whole different beast. You kind of get indoctrinated on something else, you know, in these Christian schools. But that's a whole nother topic for a whole nother day. But I think, you know, if we start not only value education at the schools, but, you know, at home, I think that'll go a much longer way. But how do we, you know, start building that foundation and say, all right, maybe 1 or 2 hours a night, you know, after we go over our schoolwork, then we start talking about, you know, some of our contribution or what can you, you know, add to society. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and you know, my education started at home. I started reading. I was 3 when I could read. My mom started teaching me early because I like books. She likes to read, but mine was, believe it or not, the Bible. And my mom does not believe in heaven or hell. She never has. And, you know, but we would go through the Bible and, you know, I would go to church sometime, my grandmother, whatever. And I'd be like, Mom, this is what they taught us. She was like, how much sense does that make? I was like, what do you mean? She's like, well, they said these were the first humans on earth, but then they leave the garden and they, you know, have kids by these other people. Yeah. So aren't they contradicting themselves? So her thing was to teach me to think for myself from day one. So when I get to school and she's already taught me different things and I start asking these teachers questions, I'm like, well, that doesn't make sense because then they get mad at you.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
They get upset because you're not, you know, just repeating back what they just told you. You're not going
along to get along.
Well, you're just not repeating back what they told you. You're not trying to destroy the classroom.
You're the classroom rebel now.
They start to label you that, but the truth is you're like,
they label you
this
that.
is not making sense. So my mom told me this, and this, right? Or, you know, I read this somewhere else. You know, which one is right? And they get mad at you, you know, so that is an issue. And at least here in Charleston, at least in I don't mean by get mad at you, I mean here in Charleston in terms of another issue we have is we do not have very many black teachers. We don't.
I mean, I think it's just reflective of the population, though. Think about it. You know, I'm just going back to when I was, you know, in public school, you know, 13, 14 years ago. I'm trying to think, did I have a black I may have had like one black teacher a year.
All right, let's skip that.
All right.
When I say black teachers, I don't mean just in the school system. I'm talking about outside in our communities anymore. When I used to come home, you know, when I get out of school bus and I'm going through Washington Manor, I run into my whole neighborhood, you know, and I learned crucial things. I mean, you know, about everyday life. So even though they're not teaching as much in school, they still need to learn, you know, things about everyday life. And that's what I've been trying to teach. Like, I've got a 15-year-old nephew. Like, I want to take him to a historically black college. I'm going to take him to a football game or basketball game just to get some entertainment, but to see the difference in going to one. Like, I went to state when it was still, you know, black, as we say. Still had dusk till dawn dances, you know, that kind of stuff at homecoming. And then I went to law school, Texas Southern, which is a historically black college, one of the few historically black law schools. I think it's only 4 left, 4, maybe 5 now. And it's just a whole different way of learning.
Yeah.
Not just in the classroom, but out.
So, you know, we always, I don't know if we've had this conversation before, but when I talk to a lot of older black individuals who kind of was either started, you know, when the school started integrated, or were kind of, you know, a little afterwards, but they still kind of know individuals who were, you know, was in schools when they were segregated, and they say, you know, that integration of the school system, they talk about specifically the school system, was one of the worst things to happen to us. In terms of we didn't get the same, you know, level of education, you know, because they weren't, you know, focusing on us. It was just, all right, come on, get on in. And we kind of see that now. You know, they kind of just want to push you. Not all schools, but sometimes I feel like they just want to push you out.
I don't know. All I know is when I got to West Virginia State and I ran into Miss Sutphin, it was a different level of
care, maybe?
Care, education, respect that I better have. That, you know, it wasn't even spoken. It was unspoken. It was first week I hadn't been to class. Next week I show up in class, been out all night. It's a phone number on the board. It's my grandmother's phone number. And if you can't show up, I'll make sure you get hit. You know, and well, she's from Charleston, so she's from the neighborhood, so she kind of knew who I was anyway, some kind of way.
Okay.
Not like it's a big community. Yeah. And, you know, it was a group of us. I remember we had to write a paper. And I think most of us got maybe D's or C's. And, you know, we had to meet. Our name was on the board when we came in. And she's like, well, class was ending. She's like, these people, please remain behind. We remained behind. Yeah. And honestly, it was about 4 or 5, and we were all black. And she's like, Mr. Moore, you got a C, you got a D, somebody else got a D, somebody got a C. I want to have this. And I'm looking at her like, okay, I pass. Your point? She's like, no. As a black man, and you, young lady, as a black lady, you people will not leave my class with anything less than B's. Not because I'm going to give it to you, but because you're going to earn in that. So she handed them back, and Miss Sutphin always spoke real proper. This is for you. You will redo these until they are at least B grade level. Have a good day. Yeah,
but I'm glad you brought that story up, because she is invested in you, because she sees you as a valuable asset to the community going forward. Do these teachers who are teaching our children now see our children, or are they really invested in their children, or are they just saying, all right, I'm just teaching them because this is my job? You know, some are, some may not. But I would say is, you know, if those teachers are not, it is up to us to say, all right, you know, they just have to go because 1, it's law, and 2, we don't really have any black, you know, not necessarily private schools, but our own schools. So all right, go learn your math, you know, science, you know, whatever it need be, and also learn how to socialize with other people. But, you know, 2 or 3 days a night, you're gonna get some extra education. after football, basketball practice, whatever.
But what I mean was, it was the education wasn't, oh, sit down, we're gonna learn this. The education was being Skip Mason, Levi Phillips. They all played basketball, football, whatever, right? Mm-hmm. But they all viewed it as a way to get what they wanted in terms of going to school, is what they wanted at the time. But it was still a camaraderie in that community. I mean, they were way older than me, mm-hmm. but like Skip was one of my best friend's dads, and then Virgil Smith was my best friend, and his dad lived next door. But you still saw these people. You saw them get up. You saw them go to work. They were our Little League football coaches. They invested in us. So that's what we don't have now, because we don't have a coherent community.
I think we do. It's just maybe not, as evident as it may have been in the past, or maybe there's not as many.
Where's the community?
Huh? Well, I'm not saying the community, but there are individuals who are invested.
Yeah, but I'm talking about the community, the sin. I mean, there were kids whose parents weren't at home, but when they walked outside, they still had a chance to see it. You know what I mean? So, sometimes you can learn when you don't even realize you're learning. You're not paying. Just sitting here, you just notice something.
Yeah. Learn by observation.
Yeah.
And, like I said, like we said last week, models of possibility.
Exactly. Exactly.
And so this person, has this profession, or this person kind of like the older gentleman just kind of just drop a little nugget of game on you when you're walking home from school or something like that. Is that what you're talking about? Okay.
Which leads me back to the point of, okay, now if we don't see some of us in positions of power, not just money, but positions of power, decision making, and still connected to the community, then these kids don't see it and don't have the model of possibility that you like to speak about.
But are positions of power just politicians?
No.
Can positions of power be, like you said, school teachers?
Yep.
Can they be, like yourself, a lawyer?
Yep.
Can they be an electrician, maybe?
A doctor?
A business owner?
Yeah.
Of some sort, or even just a community activist. To me, is it somebody in a position of power that could sway the opinion one way or another?
Right. All those are very good examples. Mm-hmm. So, but my issue with preaching just about the money is this: we always see people with money. You see actors, you see comedians.
But do they really have real money?
You see actors, you see comedians, you see people selling dope. But, okay, what's the power in that? You have the power to go buy you a car, go buy you a truck, go buy you a house. I guess you could pay somebody's way to college, but can you change their thinking? It's the whole mindset that has to be changed.
Man, that person's tired about to fall off.
Yeah, somebody need to go help him out. For real.
That's a model of possibility right now. Throw your jack up, but
yeah.
Take your lugs off. But yeah. But I think, like I said, think money, the money aspect, could be. So are we using? We had a conversation yesterday, kind of with a couple other individuals, but are we using our money that we do have ineffectively then? Because we spend over $1 trillion every year.
Yeah.
If we were a nation, or if we thought of ourselves as a nation, we'd be like the 9th or 10th richest nation. But here's the kicker though. We only have like 2% of the nation's wealth.
Okay.
So we can spend money, but we don't have it.
Okay. That's my point. Just having money don't do shit for you. Not in the huge, not in the real scheme of things.
So let's take, for example, you remember the song Money, Power, Respect. You know that.
Yeah.
So first you get the money, then you get the power, then you get the respect.
That's wrong.
So do you think you get the power, then the respect, then the money, or how does that go? Or do you get the respect first?
It depends on what level. What level you talking about? Street level, okay, yeah, maybe money, power, respect. Okay, cool. But if you got power, you can always get money. Money will always bring you power. Yeah. You won't.
So that whole, money, power, respect, for to get what we need to go.
So what you're
that's
saying
kind
is
of a backward thing. I don't say I agree with that.
no,
I'm
no,
just
I'm
saying
saying. So what you're saying is if you said it in that order, right, and it went in that order, that means you don't get respected until you get some money or some power.
because we live in a materialistic society. And that's why the money comes first. That's why
What happens to materials? Materials burn and wither away.
So how do we get the power in it?
You gotta change your mind. In my opinion, change your mindset and your way of thinking. And when I'm talking about power, I'm talking about 100 of us standing together. Like, okay, so you offered him $200 million to go over here and dig this ditch. No, we're not gonna take it. We don't want it. We want everybody right here to have a job, even if it's less, or that ditch does not get dug at all.
But what do we?
That's power.
But what do we do to the person who does accept that $200 million?
Oh man, he can't come back to the community. You turn your back on him because they just bought him. And once they bought him, they control him. You don't want him back. Why would you take him back? And guess what? That one man can't dig that ditch by himself. It's too big, too deep, too long. So you let him go and work himself to death and die with him. You don't.
A lonely death.
Yeah, you don't do something stupid like saying, "Oh, he got 100 million. Let me go get 20 million." That's the problem we have. Then they all start jumping on board, talking, "Oh, he got a nice car." Okay. He also has a master.
But I think we see like the nice car, nice clothes as that something to attain to because we might not come from
I know, because I don't.
That's what I'm saying. So once we get that, my thinking is, we kind of gravitate to those kind of, flashy things because for so long, once we got something, it was easily taken away from us. We want that gratification now because we don't know how long it's going to last.
You're right, because I'm not going to front. I've been there, done that. Mm-hmm. But once I got there, I realized ain't shit changed. I got a car. I got a little bit of money in my pocket. They still see me the same way. I got a few degrees.
Yeah.
What Jay-Z say? Rich nigga, poor nigga.
Yeah.
Still a nigga. I mean, and that's just the attitude that we have to change, is the way we see ourselves as that. And we change the way our attitudes of seeing ourselves as that, you can force them to change the way they see you.
So, we was talking about it's a mindset. Have to change our mindset. I think, to change your mindset from, wanting, all the, nice, flashy things, or it's all about me mentality. We have to go back to, periods in history where we were actually succeeding as a group.
That's what I was getting to earlier when we were talking about our history.
Post-slavery and prior to slavery, or even, history here, in the U.S. or in North America, wherever, history in Africa. Mm-hmm. So, I would challenge some people, people who are watching this, pick a book, and just for one, book a month, some type of Black history. You don't necessarily have to be like African history per se. Something like that. But just that's all right, brother. Just pick, find a book. Or shoot. Book you should start with? Miseducation of the Negro.
Love it.
By Carter G. Woodson. I haven't read that book in 10 years. I
like Powernomics too.
That's one of my favorite books.
I like Powernomics.
By Claude Anderson.
Dr. Claude Anderson. I love Powernomics.
Have you read his book, Black Labor, White Wealth? It's another one of his books that kind of, breaks down, how this country, or not this country, but Western power built its wealth off the backs of Africans. Yeah. That's another good book for me. But Powernomics kind of breaks down how we can use our economic game to build our community.
I read that along with Miseducation of the Negro. I like to read them together. But another book, I can't remember who wrote it, but I think his name was Judge Bruce, I want to say Bruce Wright, because they say turn them loose, Bruce, and it's called Black Robes, White Justice.
Never heard of that.
Oh, man.
It's about the judicial system.
Yeah, he became a judge in New York, and I know in one instance he gave this. They were mad because he gave this dude bail, a lower bail amount, and his argument was, you give these white dudes a bail with these type charges.
Yeah.
Why shouldn't I?
Yeah.
You know. But yeah, Black Robes, White Justice.
I'm gonna check Black Robes, White Justice. I'm gonna check that out.
Yeah.
Right. I'm gonna add that to my shoot. I'm gonna add that to my Amazon right now.
And you know, the
Robes,
worst thing
White
about
Justice.
it is, you know, it's not anti-white or anything like that, but they need to read this stuff as well, because they don't consider us, you know, the people, for most people in the powers that be, and it just so happens most of them are white, they don't, in my opinion, most of them don't consider us when they make a decision about a policy decision about the public at all. And they don't consider our history at all when they're making a decision about our lives, or they don't consider the message that it sends out to us and our youth when they make this decision and they put it out there. Or maybe they do, and if they do, then damn. But you know, I just don't believe, for the most part, that they think that far back or that far ahead and consider us when they make those decisions. Yeah. Especially around here in Charleston.
Yeah, but like you said, if we're not, you know, putting ourselves in a position to at least, you know, challenge them, you know, can we then be upset with that?
We can challenge them. That's the problem. See,
well, that's what I'm saying.
People don't even realize LA, when something goes on, you see those dudes stand up. I think LA is 6, maybe 9, 6 to 9%.
I think it's 6%
black. Charleston is now 15%.
But is that 15% unified?
But it's got to be 15% strong, you know. And
but I mean, obviously,
I think we can get there. We can do it.
You're not gonna get everybody on board, you know. But if we get enough, you know, I don't think we need everybody, honestly, because we start getting everybody, you know, it's gonna be too many egos involved.
Right.
You know, I think, you know, for us to really succeed, we need to check our ego at the door. You know, problem with, you know, with the civil rights movement, you know, once you kill off, Malcolm and Martin, everything kind of dies off, because, you know, that was the quote unquote leader.
And that's what they do. They still use most of these people around here still playing by the same playbook. Let's march. Okay.
Yeah.
For what? Once the march is over, they know what's going to happen. They're going back home. Yeah. They, you know.
Because we using the same playbook and wonder why we're getting blown out 100-0.
Pretty much.
You know, we don't call it audible, ever.
No, or they bluff every time.
Who's they?
The so-called leaders.
Okay.
Right? I'm gonna file a lawsuit. Never filed.
Yeah.
So why would anybody ever pay attention to them? Oh, the people. Who are the people? You don't bring people, a crowd, when you come. So you have no support.
I think, you know, I'm glad you brought that up, because I was, you know, at a meeting about 6 weeks ago.
They don't have any support because they don't walk around the communities and talk to these same dudes that are on the block.
They don't talk the language, because I was at this meeting about 6 weeks ago, and I don't know if we can consider this person a black leader or not, but you know, they were kind of saying something. They bringing up, you know, Bill, you know, West Virginia, some the B29 or whatever. I'm sitting there thinking to myself, man, to reach these people, you got to leave that, you know, bill number out of it.
Yeah,
no, because after you just said that, because even myself, I was like, okay, I don't want to hear Bill, you know, West Virginia 5849. No, tell me, you know, in layman's terms, how this is affecting me. And they can't, you know, spell that out. It's West Virginia Bill 2956, you know, we're trying to get this through. Okay, what does it do? Well, and here what it says.
Tell me how it affects me.
They speak in legalese, they not speaking layman's terms.
Tell me how it
and they can't effectively communicate that.
Yeah.
And so they losing people. They're like, forget this dude. He trying to, you know, they think of that as being too uppity.
No, not only that, they're like, I have no idea what the hell he's talking about. He must not be talking to me.
So who are they talking to then?
Are
they just talking to themselves?
They're just talking. to say that they put it out there.
Yeah. Oh, so you should have known. I spelled it out for you.
Yeah, I told you. You may as well spoke Bavarian or Chinese or Latin, a dead language to these, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's, and
you know, what, you know, like you said,
that's what the churches always did back in the day. Not the black, so-called, you know, not the black churches doing civil rights movement, but before that, that's what church did. That's why they always had to go to the priest to interpret, because, you know, everything was in a language that the common man couldn't speak.
So are they then doing this intentionally to set to?
It's part of the programming, you ask me.
Do they, you know, so do they think they're doing the right thing, or are they deceiving us intentionally or unintentionally?
I think that's on an individual basis.
I mean, they might have, you know, good intentions, but
My question
they don't know how to
is-
effectively communicate, you know, what's the strategy, or, you know, or are they even showing, you know, how they themselves succeeded on what they're trying to get you to do?
Now, example, question. We got people, you know, putting their name in the hat to run for mayor, right? I have not heard any of them address what they bring to the table, specifically in regards to the black community.
Here's the question, though. Who's asking them? That's one question.
No, that's my point. They don't even consider us without being asked. Without being asked,
But
if
I
I'm
mean-
sitting at the table with 4 people, right, and I bring a pie, I'm going to consider each and every person.
But
when I bring a pie.
But here's why I disagree with you. We're not at the table,
Okay.
and so
So they don't consider
and
us.
that's why, you know, when you say, you know, it starts with the political process, it also starts with
So we don't exist.
we don't exist because we don't value the political process, but also too, you know, we don't have a real economy behind us to say, you know, why should I invest in them? Because what
So
kind
you're
of
saying it's the money.
it's the money and the politics combined.
So you're saying that we had money they would consider us.
No, that's not what I'm saying.
I'm saying if we showed up at the ballot and voted, they would damn sure consider us, with or without money.
Okay, so
Because now we are determining who gets the job.
but what are we asking for?
I'm at least be considered. Let's see. Let's start a conversation. Let's start a dialogue.
Yeah.
Let's start a real dialogue and consider us whenever you make a decision about, you know, what you're going to do with the properties on the west side, on the east end. You know, we got these renovation projects or whatever's going on in the city. Hold on, we got a 15% black population. Don't you think we need to address these people? And plus, once they vote, we better address them, because guess what? They do vote. They have a huge say.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. But I think, you know, before we have to get this together quickly. But if we don't have a true agenda, you know, and that's going to be determined behind closed doors, nothing we're going to have out in the open. But if we don't have a real true agenda, just showing up to vote, because who's to say, you know, all right, we get every black, you know, or 50% of the black population to vote here in Charleston. One person votes for this candidate, one person votes for that candidate. So basically, we're just ineffective.
No, you're right. But I'm saying, when I say get us to vote, I'm talking about vote cohesively, vote together, vote
We need
one
a vote.
direction.
We need a voting block, and but that also starts with having.
I think
you know,
we're working on it.
Yeah,
I think we're getting there.
Yeah.
I mean, at our seminar, we had 55 people, 65 registered. We gave out 200 voters registration forms. We got people calling and asking for more.
Yeah.
We got other events coming up. I think before it's all said and done, you know, we'll have a few people voting.
Yeah. And I think, you know, we
And
just
we have
got
some candidates. Not us, but once we have some candidates named, and once we can figure out what their agenda is, then I think we'll be in a better position to say, well, look, the dudes that listen to what we put out, the dudes that have showed up, the dudes that you know in the neighborhood, and I know in the neighborhoods, hey man, look, these are the people that we think we should vote for, and why. And that's a big thing, why. And these are the things that we plan on doing if we get them in office and they don't,
Also,
if they don't,
we
stay
also
true
need to have
what
a
they
sit down
told us.
with those candidates as well.
Well, we can ask them. Let's ask them.
Let's do it.
All right.
All right, bet. Shoot, I think it's a good, Black Coffee conversation for today. What kind of final thoughts we got today, Rico? We would like to leave the people, the viewing audience with.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
said,
my phone got to me.
What's your final thoughts, on this conversation we had today? With, going forward, what should we do?
Same as always. I mean, we're going to continue to seek some economic stability, and we're going to do our very best to continue to stay connected to our communities, to educate our communities, and to get our communities to the polls and some people in positions to make some real decisions that will positively affect our community.
All right, I think, I echo that statement. I just say, however you can contribute, whatever, small and big, whatever it may be, just do your part. And I say if we get enough people to do our part, we can build something great. Peace.
True indeed.